Yeah, so I was saying I believe the season is right to be discussing such an important issue as it relates to the topic. Uh, and I'll be sharing with you insights I've garnered from my lived and work experience, from the advice I've gotten from my mentors, and from the books I've read. There is a program at my university with the same title, Agents of Change, which aims to support innovative uh, programs and students led initiatives that address social determinants of health and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That is not what I'm going to do here, although I must say some of the ideas that I'll be sharing will be quite familiar to the students in that program. So, as a disclaimer, I would like to note that I am responsible for all the ideas shared on this platform, and none of what I say here reflects the position of my current university or any of the funding institutions that support my research. I do this because this is a webinar, and you never know where this information could get to, though I am sure that they'll be excited to hearing me speak on these issues. Also, I would be referring definitely to some scriptures from the Bible, which is what I'm most familiar with. And so bear with me because that is what has shaped my life to today. You see, when you think of the webinar series title, Building a Reformed Generation, it suggests there may be a problem. It suggests there may be a challenge, a defect with this generation. Uh, and when you think of reformation or to reform, it connotes improving the current form or the current status quo and changing it into something that is worth emulating. It could mean improving on the lot of individuals, families, communities, institutions, and nations. You know, one of the noteworthy reformations in history is the Protestant Reformation, which gave birth to the new kind of spiritual that we see around. But that is not what we are going to talk about today. And so I want you to begin to think critically about what the webinar title is about. And I dare say that in spite of the messiness we see around us today, I believe there's still a remnant in this generation. There are people, a youth group, individuals who are principled, have values, and are making changes every day. For them, this webinar is supposed to encourage them and stir them up to continue doing what they are doing, right? But also, we have a new generation of people who are not ready to sacrifice, not ready to pay any price for their success, always pursuing shortcuts, have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof. They may go to church on Saturday or Sundays or both, or even they may attend the mosques on Fridays, yet they will not shy away from taking bribes or pursuing other incentives in order to in order to achieve the kind of goals they set for themselves. I hope this webinar instills a certain form of discipline to those individuals. Again, we have students who finish school today and tomorrow they want to be driving a Corvette, what you see on the screen. You see, it is not a bad thing to be driving this car. And certainly, it will be exciting. And, you know, it will attract a lot of attention, particularly in Ghana. But I believe you should have worked for it. And I believe whatever you acquire and whatever the dreams are, you need to pay the price. We live in an age where people cannot delay gratification. They want it now instantly, and if they cannot have it, they would have to find other ways of getting it. In fact, within the academic circles, with innovations such as ChatGPT, BAD, DAL-E, students no longer want to do the hard work. Put in your assignment, and AI will produce the answers. That sometimes in the name of efficiency and speed, we find that students are becoming lazy and dumber. People are finding alternative means to outwit the systems. In the process, they do not care who gets hurt. People get into power with barely thousands to their name, but after a few years, they are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. In such a state, we need something to change. We need some guidelines to reformation, to transformation, just so we can become the right agents of change. But I like to say and echo that it is not all bad and gloomy. There are those who want to make a change in their lives, in the lives of their families, in the lives of their communities, possibly in the nation and the world, but they don't know how. Most likely, they've not gotten the right direction. Some their level of exposure is limited. Thus, though they have the capacity to dream, their dreams are defined by their environment, limiting how far they can dream. Such also need some guidelines, such also need some inspiration, and some direction to make a change. There are others who have low self-worth. Some might consider their backgrounds and just give up. They look at where they live. They look at sometime the family they were born in. They look at their circumstances and they feel that, it is not possible. So they give up so early. I came for such individuals too, because I believe that it is not how bright you are. It is not how much money you have. It is about the consistency at which you are with what you are doing. It is about a quest to improve yourself daily, to improve yourself weekly, to improve yourself monthly, and to improve yourself yearly. You see, change starts with you. You can change the world around you. Yes, you. You can transform the world, and you have the power to change the world. Don't let someone tell you something else, because it is within your grip. And this is not just motivation for motivation purposes, but it is motivation entrenched in certain principles and rules, so that if you can follow those rules, if you can follow those principles, they'll work for you in spite of who you are. And so whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a traditionalist, whether you're a Hinduist, Confucianist, these are principles. They work for everyone. But I dare say that especially for the Christian, because you have much more to it. This afternoon, I would like to share with you some qualities of an agent of change, a change agent, someone who can transform his society, someone who can transform his nation, someone who can transform his world. It starts bit by bit. We'll be talking about changing your mental model, building a value system, and if time permits, living beyond today. Those are the crucial things we'll be talking about. And so let's get started. One, I'd like to start with a brief overview of mental models. You see, we live in a world that is facing complex problems. You see, you have simple problems, you have complex problems, and you have wicked problems. Simple problems are just related to the germ theory. Okay, you got sick, you ate some food that was contaminated, you got a diarrheal disease. You go to the hospital, you are diagnosed, they give you the medicine, you are okay. It's a simple problem. A causes B. Then you have complex problems, and then you have wicked problems. You see, problems that cannot easily be untangled. And sometimes finding a solution to one leads to another problem. That's a wicked problem. But I'm not here to talk about all those problems. But you see, these problems create a mirage of hopelessness, which often makes people engage in all kinds of vices. But you see, currently, the world is thinking about these complex problems in a different way. They are using systems thinking. And that is where I came to understand what mental models are. And so, what is a mental model? A mental model is an explanation of someone's thought process about how something works in the real world. It is a representation of the surrounding world, the relationship between the various parts, and what the person believes can be done, and the person's intuitive acts and its consequences. It is a person's internal representation of reality, and it's a set of beliefs that help people understand how the world works and make decisions. You see, your mental model, I'll give an example, can be your experience, or could be built from your experience of having been bitten by a dog. And so that could have been 10 years, 15 years ago, but it has created an imprint in your mind about what dogs are. And so it doesn't matter how nice a dog may be, and it doesn't matter who says they cannot bite. Your encounter in the past has created a certain image in your mind. And so there's probably a fear of dogs, right? So that is a mental model. It is how you picture things. It's your perception of how the world works. It is your understanding of what needs to be done to get things done. And so if your mental model is not shaped right, your life is not shaped right, you continue to let the status quo remain. But the question is, how are they built? You see, one, at least from the philosopher John Locke, he says that at best the human mind is a blank slate without rules for processing data. And the data is added and rules for processing are formed solely by one's sensory experiences. And so when you think of it, I'm sure there may be a few academics here. You find that the environment, at least from the human geographer's perspective, or from the sociologists, they talk about agents of socialization, begin to create this data. Your environment defines what you see as good or bad. Your environment defines your goals and your ambition. Your environment influences how you think about the things around you, whether you want to make it better or worse. In fact, your environment determines what you do. The actions and inactions of people and the consequences therefore stimulates and imprints on your mind the realities you can pursue. And so it is what you see around you that influences what you desire to be and what you desire to do. And so growing up, you would find that mostly in Ghana, everyone wants to be a physician. Everyone wants to go into some other trade that is common. Everyone wants to do law. Uh, Now, a lot of people are going to law, they want to be in politics. And that is because of the environment we live in. You see, uh, years back when I'd finished my first degree in sociology, my my late dad was asking what I was going to do with my course. He said my cousin was in banking And he was just wondering what I was going to do. You see, I don't blame him because it was the environment dictating what most graduate students should pursue. In fact, much earlier in my program at the undergrad, I started with archaeology, linguistics, Spanish, and sociology because I came in much earlier than I was supposed to. But you see, I came to love the discipline archaeology. Yet the responses of the people I worked with made me feel I was doing a wrong course. So a year later, I'll trade it in for psychology. But a few months after that, an opportunity came for me to study at Johns Hopkins University, which would have required that I should have done archaeology for 2 years. But you can see I'd already traded it in. And so that opportunity passed me by. You see, the environment dictated what I assumed to be the norm. Yet my experience would have been different if I pursued my interest and what I loved. Thus, I ask, what is your mental model? Is it your understanding that life is about what you see? Is it your understanding that you pursue a degree program, get a job, marry, and have children? That's if that's your mental model, it is good, but it will not change the world in any way. What is your mental model of success? Is it about marrying the right person, driving a Bentley, a very nice car like a Corvette, owning a house, having some money at the bank for emergencies? If that's what you are thinking of, I bet you will get all that someday. And you will find that you did not live at all. You see, there are instances where, for some, it is about the dress they wear, what designers they wear, what perfume they are wearing, and sometimes even what they eat and where they are eating. And that is what people pride themselves in. And somehow it is their mental model about what life is all about. You see, those cannot just be what you think life is about if you want to become an agent of change. We live in a society where such attributes are valued and less emphasis is placed on change. We come to accept everything as they are, you know, and that is where our world is heading towards. If you look at the African continent, we have all the resources that could transform the African continent, but our mental model is not right. And so I ask, what is your mental model of change? Do you wish to pursue the status quo or you wish for change? In spite of where you come from and in spite of your environment, in spite of the actual realities you see around you, would you want to be just a number, one of those who lived, or you want to make a change so that even after you are gone, people can look back and say that indeed he lived. He made a difference. He made an impact. It starts from the mind. It starts from your capacity to think big. You see, at least making reference to the scriptures, Proverbs 23:7, it says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It starts from your thinking. It starts from your thoughts. Change does not appear from nowhere. It requires atomic habits. You need to start. You see, good intentions will not produce change. You need to identify what change you want to make, the level of change you want. To do that, you need to know what you are passionate about. Most people work for money, but you need to identify what your passion is. Consider your talents and your giftings. Crystallize them into strategic goals in life. And now begin to work on those goals. In fact, your dreams should be bigger than where you are. so that you can find that it is only God that can help you. I can tell, you see, there are many with monies in their pocket. There are many who have opportunities, but they want to find someone with the skill, the passion, and the abilities. And you'll be amazed how that will transform you. As I'm speaking, I'm currently hiring a postdoc for my lab. The person is supposed to have certain skills. If I find a person, even in Ghana, I'm happy to work everything out for the person to come up here to do the work. But you see, it is about finding that skill. And so, whatever you have, your gifts, it makes a difference. Now, there are four things I've talked about, and you want to be careful and look at them carefully. Your passion, and it can be in a particular discipline, it can be in a particular subject. You want to look into it, define it, see where it takes you, look for the best in it. And I can tell you, you'll be amazed that because you'll be good and excellent at it, you would always excel and the money will follow. What are your gifts and talents? Put them to work. Because at the end of the day, those two, your gifts and your passion, when crystallized, will produce something the world has never seen. And then opportunities. I tell people, don't wait for the opportunity. Uh, work for the opportunity, because when the opportunity comes and you are ready, it'll pass you by, right? And sometimes it will come to you very expensive. And so work towards it. And when the opportunity comes and you are ready, a miracle is birthed. That is what a miracle is. I know we can look at the divine aspect of it, but a miracle happens when an opportunity meets preparation. If you are not prepared and an opportunity comes your way, I tell you, it'll pass you by and you miss it. And then your successes. You see, as you document your success, those serve as a springboard for you to fulfill your dream and make a difference. No matter how small they may be, they have the potential to turn your life around. So I say that your thinking matters. Your thinking matters. If you want to leave an indelible mark on your generation, you need to be able to identify again your gifts and what you are passionate about. It does not start with money. It does not necessarily start with intelligence. It starts with what you want to do. It starts with the problems you want to solve. It starts with your ability to think beyond what others are doing. You see, I've been telling some folks here that growing up, I used to hear a song in Ghana that talks about how if 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 a building was like a box, it will be carried or it will be transported around, or people would travel with it. That was kind of the song, and people danced to it. But I do see that that same understanding and that same thinking got people, some individuals in this part of the world, to start working at it. And today, they have all kinds of vehicles that are, in fact, running homes, right? So they have the bath in it, they have bedroom in it, and they can drive it anywhere. You get it? So you can see the ideas are given to everyone, in spite of where you live, but it is what you do with it that matters. It starts with your thinking, your ability to think beyond your environment. You see, how deep and innovative are your thoughts? How imaginative can you be? Before I started working at Harvard, I'd seen myself there 10 or 15 years before. Before I got to Cornell, I dreamt it. I was praying it to being. And nobody had told me about the place. But you see, your thought, your imagination makes a difference. It was Aristotle who said that sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow your character, reap your destiny. And so you would find that your thoughts, as you think, as you think, as you think, it begins to shape the things you want to do. And that is why we need to change that mindset. You need to imagine yourself in a strategic place. And it is not just imagination for imagination's sake. Imaginations that are based on evidence and facts. That makes a difference. Imaginations that are based on what you can do and your capacity to accomplish stuff. That is what it is. You see, success is predictive. To a large extent, it is not inherited, though there are few who may have inherited those. But to a large extent, success is predictive. And the reason why I say this is I don't assume that some people have made it because they came from good backgrounds. See, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Sometimes you need to hold on to what you believe in. You will need to hold on to the God you love and then begin to work things per what you believe he's calling you to, right? I remember sometime on Legon campus, I was a member of the Methodist Presbyterian Union, and I was made a publicity director at some point. The good news is I got to be in charge of the library. And I remember one vacation when almost everyone had gone home. I got these books. There were several of them because we needed to program them for the library for the union. But within that 1 month, it was Christmas break. Within that 1 month, I spent time reading the books. It began to change something in me. It began to stir me up onto certain ideas. And so it matters. Your environment and where you came from does not matter in this, even though it has some consequence. And so please, I want you to begin to think carefully. And then your attitude. Your attitude matters in a lot of ways. As someone has said, your attitude will determine your altitude. But I'll come to that. What am I saying here? I'm saying that you need to change your mental model about what success is, about what it means to be able to transform the environment around you. You see, growing up, I heard Archbishop Duncan Williams say in one of his sermons that you need to deprogram and reprogram your mind. In fact, he may not have been talking about mental models, but that is exactly what changing your mental model is about. You have been told the limits of your ability. You have watched how people, through theft and schemes, have become rich. You have seen your colleagues use dubious ways to game the system. That is left an imprint on what you think it takes for you to be successful. But that has to change. You have to deprogram and reprogram. There are some for you which, on the more positive note, have seen siblings go to college, acquire degrees, gotten good jobs, married, built houses, have children. And if that is all life is about, then you also have to change your mental model. Or there are others who look at their present situation and even their environment and feel like nothing good will come out of them. I want you to know that you are mistaken because you are unique. You are precious. You are God's masterpiece, created in his image and likeness to do great works. And so you cannot look down on yourself and think you can't do anything. You can. Yes, you can. Dr. Osei was saying it. Yes, you can. You have the capacity to make a change. You have the capacity to turn your fortunes around. And so how do I change my mental model? You see, it comes with changing your thinking. I want you to know that your thoughts have the power to shape your reality. They'll become the stepping stones to you making a change in your current situation. You see, some of you may have self-doubt, but you need to believe in yourself. Again, I want to make reference to Mark chapter 9, verse 23. Jesus said, if thou can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth in him. If you can believe, if you can believe that you were created unto good works, if you can believe that you have the capacity to aspire, if you can believe that in you lies the capacity to transform the world, then I want you to know that you are an agent of change. Have great expectation of yourself. Have a bigger expectation. Visualize yourself. Write it down. Meditate on it and start working on it. You will need to be dedicated to this dream. You will need to have the drive. You will need to have the desire. When these three things come together, I can tell you there is nowhere God will not take you. There is nowhere you can't find yourself. There's nowhere you cannot be. You know, it matters. It matters how you think. So you need to change your thinking pattern. Number two, you need to change your environment. You see, individually, sometimes where you are can influence how you imagine and dream. In fact, the friends you keep will determine how far you go. And so if your friends are not pushing you forward, you need to change things. You need to change them. You need to sever ties. You see, at Legon, the friends I studied with at the Legon dining hall, four, four out of the five found themselves in Canada. Three of us are professors. In fact, two of us went to the same university in Canada, Western, and ended up teaching at the same university in the United States before I returned to Canada to take up this research chair position. You see, there are those who would propel your dream forward, but there are those who would dampen your dream. And I tell you, go with those who propel your dream and who have a capacity to impact you positively. You know, during our undergrad days, a good friend, Barry King, who is now a human resource manager at EcoBank, made us apply to schools in the UK. And you know, I remember I got a brochure from Oxford University. It will surprise you to note that these were seeds that were sown into my dream. I did not go to Oxford, but I found myself in another place, right? So it matters. The friends, I had no idea how to put out these applications, but it made a difference. And when I got to Western University in Canada, I met another five individuals and a lot more Ghanaians. You see, but the five, two of us are Canada researchers, and these are distinguished positions any professor could hold in Canada. One is a director of research and programs with the Association of African Universities. He's a approved professor at the University of Cape Coast. The other two are professors in Ghana. In fact, Doctors Lydia Osei and Mariam Azami, who are in the same university in Ghana, who are lecturers, were also friends. All I'm saying is your friends matter. They'll determine what height you attain. They'll determine the network and they will determine your net worth. They would impact how you think about the world. And so it matters. If your friends are just thinking local, you know, you end up local. If they are thinking global, you end up global. So it matters. Number three, create a new future for yourself. You see, you need to develop yourself beyond your capacity. Dr. Osei was saying I did sociology, and it's true. And I went on to do sociology in a PhD in sociology. Yet I'm now considered a global health specialist and globally known for my expertise in measurement theory. You see, why I apply my skills from sociology, my focus is so different. It's more public health, it's more global health, it is more psychometric analysis. You see, through my postdoctoral research work, I had to retrain from sociology into public health, into global health, into the biological sciences. And so in my field, people assume I did biomedicine or biological science, but that's not what I did. I had to retrain, I had to build, I had to add to my knowledge. And so today I'm introduced in some places as a social epidemiologist, as a global health scientist. But you see, I actually trained as a sociologist. The thing I'm saying here is you need to retrain. You need to build yourself. You need to examine what is being looked out for and rebrand yourself accordingly. And so it doesn't matter what discipline you are pursuing today, you can make a difference in your field. And then lastly, at least for this slide, dream beyond today. In fact, how far can you see? Your mindset can affect how high you get. I was fortunate to have been accepted into a meeting of great minds during the Arab American Frontiers of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, organized by the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine in Morocco, I think sometime in 2017. And this meeting brings together outstanding young scientists, engineers, and medical professionals from the US and from the 22 Arab countries to discuss exciting advances and opportunities in their field. So I was representing the US at that point. You see, at this meeting, I got to know the cutting-edge topics that will drive the world in the next decade. So what did I do when I returned? I started training myself on some of those tools and getting ready for them. Thus, you see, it matters. You need to train yourself. You need to look for opportunities that would expand your dream. After you finish listening to Joy FM or any of the stations in Ghana, go online, search for the World Economic Forum, subscribe to DIVEX, find places. These things are free. Just expand your horizon because it will shape how you dream and it'll help you think and dream with a global mind. Again, if you think local, you end up local. If you think global, you end up global. You need to read. I mean, there are a number of apps that some of you are on that you need to delete from your phone. You see, just yesterday, I read 3 books. You ask, how did I do that? Because now there are apps that summarize books in 15 minutes, the whole book in 15 minutes. And so by 45 minutes, I'd read 3 books. I know the content, every idea that is in it. So now you have access to a number of things that can change your world. Don't wait for government. Don't wait for a family member. Don't wait for anything else. You can make a difference yourself. We are nearing the end of our conversation. But beyond all that I've talked about, I need you to build a value system. In fact, your values are like a ladder. You need to transform the world. Your values define who you are. Most of you may have heard of the story of Daniel in the Bible. In fact, when you read Daniel chapter 6, verse 1 to 6, but when you focus on the 4b, it says that they could not find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. In fact, let me pivot a bit to those who have joined in the Church of Pentecost. You will find more details of what I'm talking about in the home self study on responsibility and social transformation. I think they do a good job in that study. But what I'm saying is you need to define your values ahead of time. because it will determine whether you want to compromise or not. It will determine whether you will yield to a corrupt scheme or not. It will determine what work you want to pursue in your field, and it will determine the policies you want to hold dear. I would not have enough time to go through all the values, integrity, honesty, and faithfulness. It matters. All of these you can expand on, you can read on, because it'll determine the opportunities. You know, at at my postdoctoral fellowship at Northwestern University in Evanston, Chicago, I believe God enabled me to do the best work that anyone could have done. I believe I did my best. And so just when my deal was over, there are jobs that circulate outside, there are jobs that circulate within a network. I remember my advisor at the time circulated this position at Harvard, and she circulated it to 10, 12 of us. So you can see it in the email. So I thought, what am I going to do at Harvard? I want to return to Canada. But you see, I think a day or two when she saw that I had not paid attention to it, she sent me a separate email and said, Godfred, you are the reason why I sent this email. I want you to apply to that job. You see, it's funny. The long and short of it is I ended up getting that job. You see, it matters that you are faithful in spite of the challenges you face. It matters that you put in the hard work. It will make a difference. Don't the fact that you are told to do A, don't do A and leave it. Add B to it, add C to it. It will distinguish you. And it brings us into transforming your attitude. You see, when it comes to the attitude part, there are a lot we can glean from scripture. But one, your mindset. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. For those who are Christians or who believe in the Bible, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. But it says, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. The way everyone is doing everything, you don't need to follow the same format. You need to change it. Number two, you need to be humble in spite of the pedigree you hold. When you read Philippians 2:5, it says that let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, that though he being God, he did not he did not fight for equality with God. He humbled himself. So that at the end of the day, when you read on, it says that he's now been given a name above every name. It matters that humility. It doesn't mean you are foolish. It doesn't mean you are stupid. It means you know what you want. And so even if you have to work, do some things, even if sometimes we are being exploited, you have to do that work. Guess so you have your elevation. Three, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Never doubt yourself. Your ability to believe in yourself. As I said at the beginning, if only you believe. If only you believe. Never doubt yourself. Trust that God has the capacity to help you do the impossible at an impossible time. Now, four, be the best where you are in what you do and with all you have. Be the best. You see, some want to be first, but they don't want to be the best. Be the best, and you can be the first. You have to redefine failure and don't give up. Success, I see, is about failing and not giving up. Because those who have failed before, they know what to do, and they know that the different ways by which they can fail. And so whenever they produce something, it is outstanding, you know. And do not think only of today. I mean, do your best each day you have it. Maximize today. Carpe diem. Seize the moment, seize every opportunity, because it will shape where you go. It will shape a lot of things. It will make people know that you are serious. Delay gratification. Sometimes it means not watching movies. Sometimes it means not going for parties. Sometimes it means sitting down in the dark. Sometimes it means spending hours with your work, spending hours with your books, putting in the effort. Even if you've gotten a good job, put in the effort. Keep on striving. Pay the price today and you play tomorrow. But I tell you, if you play today, you pay the price tomorrow. Now, finally, live beyond today. Think of posterity. Think of legacy. Think of impact. Think as a change maker. For when you think in these ways, I tell you, you'll be amazed what you accomplish. So, as you have heard me say, today we have looked at a number of things. We have looked at changing your mental model and the motivations behind it. We have looked at the things you need to do, building a value system. And we have also looked at living beyond today. For time purposes, I'll end here.